welcome everybody to a very happy occasion, which is the swearing in of a public servant that's done a great job and has been returned back to office as he should be, and has done just an outstanding public service that not only have we benefited from, but every part of state government has. I'm happy to have been a part of that, and I think all of you all should be very happy and proud that you all have been a part of it. In that sense, it's a day that we should all share in accomplishment and satisfaction. The assessor has brought technology and has applied it in a way that has just benefited every agency, every part of local government, and it's something that any public service should take pride in. And it's rare that that happens. I believe that a public servant can point to that.
I, Louis Fitzmaurice,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge and perform
all
the duties incumbent upon me as assessor,
all the duties incumbent upon me as assessor,
according to the best of my ability and understanding,
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you so much, Edward. Yes, I do have a little talk. Hopefully, get from the heart. So this is my notes and stuff, my outline, because I tend to digress sometimes. Those who know me know that, and I tend to lose track of where I was even talking about. So I'm all outline, and so I'm going to go ahead and digress right off the bat. Okay, so a couple days ago, I'm telling Tanya, I got with Sherry, went over my talk, and she really enjoyed it, really liked it, and said, okay, well, did she time you? I said, what do you mean time me? Well, how long is it going to be? I said, well, it's not like I'm talking at a Rotary luncheon. This is my inauguration, And, but I'm going to take her back. She did roll her eyes at me like she's doing it. But I got Sherry to tell me when enough's enough, all right? So I'm going to keep an eye on her there. So, first of all, just welcome everybody here, all our officials and stuff that have come today. I got a fellow assessor from Washington Parish, Jimbo Stevens, here, and I really appreciate him coming today. The most important thing I want to recognize is my family. My mom and stepfather weren't able to make it here today because I called them up and I said, the weather's too nasty, they're in their 80s. I said, don't worry about it, you will be here in spirit. And just to my mother, and hopefully she'll get to see the video and stuff, she's always with me. If my mom and dad, is the values they instilled in me, that's made me the person I am today. And I wouldn't be here without them, literally. And then I got my brother and his two daughters here, my brother Keith, Jaden and JC over there. Carlin's fiance Marvin's here, and of course my daughter Katie. Our son Robert couldn't make it today. My sister Cindy Quigley, her and her husband, they're out of town. Couldn't make it here today. But Tanya, thank you for everything. I wouldn't be here. I met a girl, I was blessed to meet, not on Tanya, but that she was from Abita Springs. And that's how I ended up in Abita. Tanya, my wife of 42 going on 43 years, you're my love of my life, and I wouldn't be up here without you. I mean that. Thank you. Love you.
Love you.
All right. I told you, I was hoping to be able to blame everything on that one today, okay? And of course, my daughter, Carlin, I'm so proud of both my daughter and all my children. Whatever happens, I've had the greatest blessing. I've had to say, Tanya and I, our three children, they're everything. And my greatest accomplishment is my involvement with y'all. And y'all made me so proud, And to where I have her up here, this is her second inauguration. If y'all recall, 4 years ago, we were over there somewhere, we were outside.
Out on the steps.
Yeah, out on the steps. Remember, it was COVID. We have gone a lot. We've gone through a lot in these 12 years. A couple hurricanes, whose timing is always right around reassessment time. Has never failed. And then COVID, reassessment. It never failed. So it's always been an adventure for us. This is the first time we probably, as a staff, all gotten together since COVID, before COVID. Well, 4 years ago when we were all standing outside that. So it gives me an opportunity here, but the first thing I want to do, Troy stole a little of my thunder, but I do want to recognize probably the greatest employee that's ever been at the assessor's office, maybe in this parish government. Like Troy said, she's in her 54th year here. I think we were talking, I'm your 5th assessor. Now, I know who her favorite assessor is. It's not me. It's the one who hired her, Wayne Lawson. And I hear he talking about all the time. And actually, he is the best one because he hired him. We'll leave it at that. But I say this, that people aren't, that everybody is irreplaceable. One day I'm going to be replaced, we're all going to be replaced. But some people are harder to replace than others. But then again, I got to thinking about you, Debbie. You are irreplaceable. Your knowledge, what you've done over these years, I mean, you're my go-to person when something just really, you're everybody's go-to person when something, you can't figure this out. Well, let's go see Debbie. And that you've stayed with me these 12 years when you could have retired years ago.
Probably the best of us.
You see why I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then to my staff. Y'all did such an outstanding job in this reassessment. Y'all really did. Your professionalism, your dedication to your job, maybe more so your understanding with the public, because I don't have any bureaucrats working for me. No bureaucrats are working for me. And you find ways, if you can, to help. And y'all did. Because you understand that we got a job to do, but our job affects people's pocketbooks. And there was big time sticker shock this reassessment, big time. But y'all were understanding, and I got nothing but compliments in regards to y'all's work. Nothing but compliments. I had people tell me they put in a review online that morning, and by that afternoon, they're hearing from an appraiser. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. I wrote this down, I made Donna put this in my notes here. Y'all do have the hardest job in this courthouse. Y'all gotta make me look good. And y'all do an outstanding job at it because you do your job and you do it well. So thank you. This was by and far the most consequential reassessment I've had. And maybe the closest one you could go to is the 2008 reassessment. In the 2008 reassessment, they had over 2,000 appeals that went to the parish council. We had less than 100. They had a whole week where they were hearing the reviews. Our reviews got to about less than 20. And I can pretty much tell you what they were. They were apartments, they were tax sale property, they were piers in Slidell, and Brooks subdivision. And Mandeville. That's what it was about. That's what it was about. And so, that's an inside joke. And so, that's beyond amazing. And even the 2012 reassessment, it was a reassessment right before I took office. I took office in 2013. And they had over 1,000 appeals for that. I'll never forget Troy and I going in, and it's like, we're all set up, the appraisers here and there, and it's like, let's make a deal. And I looked at Troy and I said, this ain't gonna happen again. This ain't gonna happen again. And it hasn't. When I first got elected as assessor, I came in with a set of goals. The number one being to restore trust to an agency that had lost it. And not only with the public and the property owners, but also the public agencies. So with your help, with all our work in it, we have made a difference. when I look at spending the taxpayers' dollars, which we all in public, so that's what we're doing, I look at it more as an investment. I'm investing the public's money, hoping with a return. And in this case, we invested in technology. Two things I invested in: technology and my people. Because my people are my biggest assets. But we invested in the technology and we did something I am so proud of and is so beneficial to the parish. We created the GIS, the digital map of the parish. When I came in, we had nothing. Nothing. And in this 12 years, we have over 133,000 parcels that are drawn and identified. Basically, we're at 98% completion, which as far as I'm concerned, we're basically done with. We're just dealing with that high-hanging fruit, way high-hanging fruit. But we're pretty much done. And the public helps us with this. Because when we have less, well, I know where that, I'll call the assessor's office. And that's how we're filling in pretty much the rest of it. We've done the flyover. We would do the flyovers more 2 times, every 2 years instead of every 4 years. A lot higher resolution. We acquired the new software. And one of the things that was very attractive about the software, one of the things I did, I brought Debbie with me when we went with the company, make sure she was on board with it, but it's tied into the GIS. So it's one thing to create this digital map, it's another thing to maintain it, and we're going to. And what I've heard from the public has just been overwhelming. But one of the things I knew that was really important, and in doing this, I'm just not doing it to be doing it, we're spending your money. Once again, what's the return? Transparency, more trust. Because everything, I say this and I believe it, we're the most transparent agency there is for this reason. Our final product, what we do, is online for everybody to see. We're hiding nothing, absolutely nothing. And if we do miss something, feel free to let us know, because that doesn't seem to be a problem. So let's just let us know. We also have a great website that has all this information. And none of this would exist without y'all. It would not exist. I can come in with these ideas, with these goals, but it's y'all that implement them and make it happen. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Another thing that was important was consistency in the value. Things were all over the place, depending on where you are. And it wasn't that anything was being done wrong per se. It was just, this appraiser may look at something a little bit more, this one a little different. There was no consistency. To me, that's important. And we had people coming in, well, my house is this and my neighbor's house was that, and they were right. We don't get that anymore. In regards to public agencies, was really what really motivated me to run for this office was the issues for the taxing bodies, us for particular in Avita Springs, because I was mayor of Avita Springs for 10 years before I came here. The bills were going out late. There was change orders all year long. There was one particular time we're bonding out money for streets, and we're working on what we're getting from the assessor's office, and it ended up with 25% less than what we originally told. We had to go back on how much road work we could do. We always had bond payments, and everybody's first bond payments are usually in March, and sometimes these bills weren't going out to January. And you had agencies, that, especially some of the fire districts that strictly live off of the ad valorem, that would have to borrow money to make ends meet until the money revenue came in. That doesn't happen anymore. That hadn't happened in 12 years. I do want to thank Troy and Debbie, because part of reassessment is the resetting, the revaluing, the resetting of the mills. Because when people vote on mills, what they're voting for is a dollar amount, what that mill is worth at the time. So in 4 years, especially with the increase in values, we had a pretty sizable rollback, probably the biggest rollback we've ever had here. So here we are, having to tell all these public agencies what their rollback numbers on before we've even finished reassessment, before we've heard the first appeal. And in this year, last year, it was, you had the first responders that were going to get an extra $25,000, but we're waiting on the council. We weren't sure what the council was going to do. They hadn't made a decision yet. We're doing the phase-in. We knew we were going to have a lot of phase-ins, and that's where you break it up, that increase over 4 years. A lot of uncertainties. But Troy, and then Troy introduced a new financial term in the parish called a cushion. And but what a cushion is actually just a conservative estimate, and it's amazing, and because this is our third reassessment and by far our most difficult one, but how right on you were on those numbers, and that's important that these public agencies can trust us and trust the numbers that we give them. It's so important because in the past, before, nobody was rolling back. I know we didn't have Avita because you couldn't trust the numbers. So trusting those numbers were important, really important. And we have that. You can make decisions knowing that there's gonna be off, it might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, but it ain't gonna be 25%, okay? And so you can make judgments on that. And I'm so proud of that. And y'all did such a great year for that. You know, because I'm gonna get one of my Lewisms that Troy and Sherry like to call this. One of them is irony and hypocrisy. I call it the mother and father of politics. If you can't appreciate those two things, do not get involved in politics at all, or you'll just get frustrated. And I do get on occasion frustrated, but I also understand how things work. But this was what was crazy this year. I got a fire chief who says we gave him too much money. Now that's fire chief saying that that's so ironic. I've never heard a fire chief say that I've been given too much money. And also the irony and the hypocrisy of it, if I give anybody too much money, which I'm not, give it back. Give it back. We give these rollback numbers, okay? By law, you have to adopt it. But, this is a big but, you can, usually 2/3 vote of the board, you can increase it. And you can go back up to your original adjusted high mill. So basically what we're given is a recommendation. Because I can't control that. I can't tell them, no, you can't roll back anymore, or you can't roll forward anymore. No, that's up to these agencies and stuff. We had, I think, mosquito control this year rolled back more than we recommended. And also, it's not coming from our office. These rollback numbers are actually coming from the legislative auditor's office. Now, we provide the information, but it's them that give us these rollback numbers. Like I said, it was so front, but this is what I'm proud of, though. I think I got it in my notes here. I do. 34 out of the 38 taxing bodies rolled back. It's my understanding up in Bossier Parish, where they did about the same amount of rollback, I think around 8% or so, all his agencies rolled up. So I am thankful to everybody that rolled back, because and if you were a senior who had the senior freeze before this reassessment, you actually saw your taxes go down because of the rollback numbers. And in our 12 years we've been in office, we believe it's about a 15% rollback that most everybody's done. Most everybody. Not everybody, but most everybody. So why did we have high values this year? Well, it's no different than the reason why the price of eggs went up. It's inflation. And it's actually your basic economics 101, supply and demand. And what I've noticed here over time, and because one of the biggest worries, and it was part of the 2008 reassessment, is that we have all these high values, and then after we do a reassessment, boom, the market crashes. Well, it's not, and I don't foresee that. Matter of fact, and I understand, you got higher values, that means paying higher taxes. I understand all that, and I sympathize with all that. But your value of your property increase, and generally speaking, is a good thing. 25%, but you gotta remember, this is over 4 years. Our last reassessment was in 2020. And so that was a big to-do. But for people who bought their homes in the last 2, 3, 4 years, you don't wanna see your values go down. Then you'll be upside down. So you don't want that. So it's just one of those things, yeah, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing when it comes to the tax bill. But overall, it's a good thing, particularly in the Slidell area, where when we first got in office, we had some areas that our first reset, we lowered. or it was flat. In a way, Slidell's benefited from what this is going on as far as increase in values. That's a good thing. That is a good thing, except when you get your tax bill. Things have so changed in this parish. I'm going to use this example. Tanya and I, when we got our first house in Avita, I think it was 92, it was early 90s. We paid $48,500 for it. That Tundra I drive out there, I didn't pay much less than that. I checked on this property, I got with Brown, we checked it the other day, and the same house that we lived in, almost 30-something years ago, sold for, believe it or not, I don't know if I told you this time, he sold for, in 22, for $200,000. You ought to see their faces over there. That's how things have changed in this parish in 30 years. Where you live in this parish matters too. Slidell, unfortunately, has some of the highest property taxes in the state. And then you do a comparison to here in the city of Covington, they're the lowest in the parish. And you ask why? Well, there's a couple reasons. One of them, the city of Covington is not in the fire district. They have their own fire department. I think it's about 9 mills that they use, plus I'm sure general fund money to supplement. Where in Slidell, for the most part, Fire District 1 has been around between 30 and 35 mills, closer to 35 mills. Also, Slidell has the millage for Slidell Memorial Hospital. Just those two things there, that's probably at least close to 40 mills difference. That makes a difference. So where you live matters. Where you live matters. So as I mentioned, we're unique, St. Tammany, in a lot of ways, and it's really happened over the last 30 years. The majority of the taxes here are paid by residential property owners. Now back, I was looking at some of my statistics earlier, I want to say back in 2002 or so, it was over 50% that commercial was paying. Now, we're getting close to maybe, we're between 60 and 70, percent where residential are paying more than commercial. What's funny, I guess we're a bedroom community and stuff, but let me mention that. St. Tammany Parish, we're the 4th largest parish in the state now. We're behind East Baton Rouge, Jefferson, Orleans, and then it's St. Tammany. And I always say, those 3 parishes have really 2 economic factors, major factors that we don't have in St. Tammany. One is the Mississippi River and all the industry and businesses that are along it, and the other is gambling. Now, a couple of years ago, we decided we didn't want gambling. That's fine. I'm good with that. In regards to if we had the Mississippi River coming through St. Tammany Parish, we'd want it all green space, be a big park. That's fine. But these are choices we make, and they come with a cost. We've got to decide what we want and where we want to go as far as that. If we're not looking, we don't want business. Listen, we had a local medical supply company that wanted to expand, but because of the public opposition, they went to Tangipahoa Hope Parish. They would have been in the top 5 taxpayer in this parish. This is a medical supply company. If there's not, if we don't want that, then I don't know what we want, or maybe we don't. But that's got to be decided. That's got to be decided. I'm here to maybe put out some solutions here. One is, I feel very strongly that we need to double the homestead exemption. Not increase it 25, double it to 150,000. I gave you the example earlier of our house. Right now, the average home in this parish is around $300,000. So even if we went up to 150, you'd still be paying on 150,000. I think we need to look at that phase-in. It was real helpful this year, but you had to be over 50% increase in value in order to apply. Maybe we drop that down to 15%. And that way, let's say your taxes increased to $1,000 because of it. You would divide that by 4. So the first year you pay that 250, the next one on top of what you already, 500, 750, then that last year 1,000. Let's look at that. Another thing I think is important, no unelected board should have the authority to roll back taxes, to roll up taxes. No everyone should have that. No unelected, and I'm not, and this is mostly in regards to the fire boards. I'm not taking shots at them. I'm not saying they're not doing a good job because they're all volunteers. I'm not even saying they don't need the money. I'm just saying they shouldn't have the authority to raise your taxes. That's what I'm saying. We also need to look at a consolidation. We need to look at the fire district. We definitely do. And I feel very, 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 very strongly about this, that it needs to come from the fire chiefs and the fire boards. They need to be the lead on this. I know for a fact we got fire chiefs and fire boards that understand and see the big picture. Right now, we're estimating that collectively, all the fire districts are going to get about over $80 million. You cannot convince me we cannot have outstanding fire protection throughout this parish for $80 million, if not less. But we don't. We have the haves and we have the have-nots. That needs to be looked at. That needs to be addressed. I'm getting there, Sherry. This is another thing for it. Just one fire board. Just one fire board. All right. I am getting there. I'm not quite at the conclusion, but I'm getting there. As Edward mentioned earlier, I've been in 9 consecutive elections. I've just finished my 30th year of public service. I don't know how many in the room can say are elected officials, but I got first elected in the 20th century. There has been 2 guiding principles, I think, that's helped me stay here, other than just doing my job. I think that's the most important thing, but always do the right thing for the right reason and not do for one that you're not willing to do for everybody else. I feel like that's what's kept me in trouble and kept me in my job all these years.
Out of trouble.
Or did I say trouble? Oh my God. But keep me out of trouble. Keep me out of trouble. Like I said, this is 30 years, but I've had a group of people with me this whole time, pretty much this whole time. They're sitting right up here. I call my Vita crew and stuff. Kim Bird, Sherry Campbell, Jennifer Blackwell, and Donna Kilpatrick. And of course, Troy. So Troy is like me outnumbered, okay, all right? And y'all mean so much to me. I said I wasn't gonna do this. Y'all were the only ones, along with my family, that believed I could do this. Y'all were the only ones. Everybody was a good people encouraging thing, but they didn't do it. Y'all did. I'm so proud of what we've accomplished together. And I think what we all have in common is that we care. We care about the job we do. We care about the public that we serve. And y'all are really good at telling me what I need to hear. Not necessarily what I want to hear. Now, I'll tell Jennifer every so often, Jennifer, I am not your husband. You cannot talk to me that way. But she does anyway. But that's what I need. And that's part of my success, our success. So, you know, we're in a time where, as an elected official, you almost don't want to say how long you've been doing this. One of the few things that the experience doesn't seem to be necessarily a good thing when it comes to re-election. I don't care. I am so proud of what we have accomplished, what we have accomplished in these 12 years. Y'all all need to be proud of it. Thank you. All these 30 years, you know, I've had a lot of experiences. I'd like to say a lot of observations. I've already mentioned some of them. I'm going to go ahead and mention some others because that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 4 years at least. This parish needs to act its size. I mentioned earlier, we're the 4th largest parish in the state. Yet we got this mix of the home rule charter and the police jury system. As far as I'm concerned, doesn't work. Doesn't work. We need to get this fiscal mess straightened out. When I was mayor, I had two funds. I had the general fund and I had the utility fund. And I had the ability to move monies from both of those. I wouldn't have been able to do my job if I couldn't do that. You don't have that in this parish. You don't have it. Most of our funds are dedicated. They're dedicated. And you can't take money from animal control to give to the DA's office or even vice versa. You can't do that. It's what the people voted on. Yet we have, with our criminal justice, a mandated expense that we have no dedicated funds for. And very little general fund money that goes to the parish, which is where that money would come from. So there needs to be a look at this. Now, I think there's ability to also look at some of these mills and look at consolidations and look at doing some things different there. It is my hope, I'll go ahead and say that sales tax passes, gets renewed. It will make things, because we got to get this, because the only ones that seem to be benefiting from this are the attorneys that are representing the agencies suing each other. That is not a good look. We're too special of a parish. We are going through growing pains, but eventually we got to grow up. Eventually we got to grow up. And we need to do it sooner rather than later. I got this written down. In conclusion, we have a lot of challenges in this parish, most to do with the growing pains. But I'm confident we have leadership in this room and in this parish to make the hard decisions to move forward, because there are hard decisions. They're not easy. We don't get paid to make easy decisions. It's hard ones that we have to make. They're the most important ones. They're the ones Troy and I talk about all the time. I always said it. I never lose sleep over the reason I make a decision. I lose sleep over the consequences of my decisions, because there always are. Time will tell what my future may be. But what I do know is we have worked way too hard to earn and gain the trust of the public. I will not give that up easily. I will respond to anyone, and I mean anyone, who questions my integrity, my staff's integrity, the integrity of our office, based on lies and misinformation. I have and I will continue to. Another thing I know, I got another 4 years. We all have another. And what I'm not necessarily looking forward to, another reassessment. But believe it or not, I'm excited about it. I'm excited. I'm excited not only with our office, but with the parish and the things that we need to do and the things I believe we can do. And I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of it. We need to do some things. We need to look at some things. We need to look at, like I said, our government, but I'm there to help and support. So I just want to leave y'all with this. I got our mission statement that we put up right when I first got involved, 12 years ago. And this is what we're going to continue to do, to serve the citizens of St. Tammany Parish with fairness, efficiency, and responsiveness. Thank y'all so much, and thank you for the public.